Hi again and welcome modelers, TrekWorks back with you. Well this time we're doing another Star Trek model kit review, and this one is the 1537 scale U.S.S. Reliant from AMT Round 2. This ship was seen in Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. Fantastic ship, it's become really popular. Even though it was a Federation ship, it's kind of thought as a villain ship. And the story behind this is Khan and his crew hijack this ship and use it in the battle against the Enterprise. They have a fantastic battle at the end of the movie in the Mutara Nebula, and ultimately the Reliant is destroyed and Khan is defeated. But there's some great starship battle scenes in this movie that you didn't get to see a whole lot of during the Star Trek movie series. But so this is a fun ship. Now on the back side here we see the usual Round 2 artwork that we've been seeing on these kits, and we've got a painting of the ship here, and we've got an actual photo of the ship mounted on the display stand. And there's some mention here at the bottom of the extra available Aztec decal set that is available from Round 2. That set runs around $30 to $40, and this is an actually a little bit high price model kit too. It's around $39 at a hobby shop, so it's a little bit high price, and you combine that with the decal kit. I do have, however, totally recommend using the Aztec set on this model. It really brings it to life. It's a fantastic set. I've done one of these already on a previous review. If you get a chance to check that one out, it shows a little bit of how those decals go down and what they look like. And so I decided I want to build another one of these for the, have a little bit more accurate version of that. And since the time that I've built my original one, there's some great improvements out there for lighting. And I'm going to show you some of the things that we need to do to light this particular kit that have changed versus the original AMT Earl version of it. And let's take a look at some of the lid of this one. Let's check out the instruction sheet first. Pretty standard procedure. There's not a lot of parts to this model. It's kind of a medium range model. You see here at the start we've got our warp nacelle halves that go together and our pylons. There's a little bit difference on these as far as they do require a little bit of work. You put them together and they may not fit just right. You may have to do a little trimming and sanding and things like that to get them to lay against that side of that primary hull and be nice and straight and not have too much tilt to them, because they tend to want to tilt a little bit. But that's kind of been a standard on this kit for years. They haven't changed that. It needs a little bit of work to correct that, but nothing real serious. And you have the two halves of the primary hull, the rear bulkhead with the shuttle bay area, and then our warp engines attached, and finally our what they call rollbar assembly that goes in the top of the hull here attaches with the Photon Launcher. And that's basically it for the assembly. I'll show you on some of these parts here. There are some aftermarket parts available for this kit to enhance the model, especially if you're doing it for lighting. And here on the back we see our standard application for paint and decals. And this one's pretty well detailed. There's quite a when you buy the model straight out of the box, you get a basic set of registry decals for this as the Reliant, and you can just go with that, and the model will still really look nice, especially if you do some nice other detail paint work on it. But that Aztec set is just really something that makes this model extra special when you finish with it. It's worth the time that it takes to put those on. Let's take a look at some of these parts here. We see our standard Round 2 base now, and this one does have the swivel socket with it. This steel mounting rod here is a little bit longer than the other ones that we've seen due to the engines being on the bottom side of this. It needs a little bit more clearance. And the first set of parts we'll look at here is this is the top half of the Photon Launcher on the top of the roll bar, and we've got our photon areas here. Now there's some aftermarket parts available. These pieces here, the front sides of your Photon Launchers, can be had in clear, so you can basically paint those and leave the center section there, and you'll be able to place LED behind that and do some lighting on that area. Or you can just really carefully drill these out yourself with a small drill bit and put some tinted red acrylic or some, maybe a red lens behind that to get your red effect for your Photon Launchers if you decide to light this. And some phaser bank parts, the front halves of the warp nacelles, solid collectors, and we have the lower sensor dome, which hasn't changed from the original kit. This part here for the bridge has just some very slight minor changes to it. It's sloped a little different, but the actual shape of it's pretty close to what we saw in the original kit. So not a whole lot of changes there. Next we'll take a look at the more sections. This is the rollbar section on the top. The halves to that pieces are here. The rear bulkhead with the shuttle bays and the warp pylons None of those parts have changed from the original kit. You've already seen one of these now. The warp nacelles, they're pretty much standard. They're the same ones that came on the AMT Enterprise version that we've seen since the motion picture version was released all the way through the final one, the Undiscovered Country version. They haven't changed at all. One of the aftermarket parts that's available, one of the companies I know has these, is Don's Light and Magic. You can actually buy the I call them manifolds, but the tinted blue insert that goes in this, if you wanted to do your lighting for your warp engines. Now, these are molded solid. There's no clear piece included with these, so you've actually got to cut this part out here if you do go with those lenses. It's entirely up to you. If you're doing it accurate to the screen on The Wrath of Khan, they never show the Reliant during the movie under warp power. It's maneuvering on impulse power the whole time, so you never see these lit up in blue during the movie. But it's entirely up to you how you wanted to build it. All in the fun of it. And let's look at the big change that we have here, and that is the primary hull. On the primary hull, you can see immediately that it's been made approximately a 1/16 of an inch thicker than the original kit was in this area here. Let me try to get these halves lined up for you. You can see that in this area right here, it's about a 1/16 of an inch thicker than it was overall. And there used to be some molded in ribbing around this area. That's all been wiped clean. The same thing with the ribbing that used to be on the front side here, these bulkheads. But one other thing that you notice, and it changes your approach to this model as far as lighting it is that all the window ports that were originally here for a nice guide for drilling windows out are all gone now. On this area here and this whole thing all the way around. So in the case now, to do your windows on this model, you're going to have to do some kind of template or figure out a way to. I just use straight pieces of really thin tape for my guidelines when I'm doing window work, and you're going to have to work that in all the way around in your different areas. And as far as the detail goes up on the top side here, in this section back here, maybe just a little bit of difference I see on this, but not a whole lot. It's really pretty much the same. All the detail that we saw before on the original kit, and also here on the bottom side, it's all pretty much the same. I don't see any changes there at all. So, but there's a lot of detail on this model to begin with. It's one of their better models that AMT did, in my opinion, of the Star Trek models. Even though the original version was a little off in some areas, it was still a really, really cool kit. And there just aren't a whole lot of versions of Reliant model kits out there. I couldn't even tell you how many, but this might be the only one. There might be a smaller one. I know I'd like to see a 1/1000 scale model of this come out. That would be a nice kind of a match to the 1/1000 refit Enterprise that Round 2 has out. So anyway, that's the Reliant. Now, one of the other things I wanted to talk about on the lighting of this model is that you can see these engine pylons here are very thin, and also the bulkhead that they attach to here on the side is one solid piece. So you're going to wind up drilling a hole through this, basically behind the where the pylon fits onto the side of this, and you're going to run your wires. Now that magnet wire that I showed you in one of my earlier demos, this is the perfect stuff to use for this because it's so thin, and you can basically cut yourself a little trench on the inside of these parts with your Dremel tool, or maybe even with a file, and route your wires through. And you're going to need to go down if you choose to light the warp nacelles with either the blue lighting or the beacon lights that are at the very aft end of the nacelle, or the actual kind of spotlights that are on the front next to the Broussard collectors. So if you want to run power there to that, you're going to have to sneak wire down through there. So once you get down into the nacelle, it's no problem. And once you're inside the hull area, you have no problem. It's just this area here where you need to go through these nacelle pylons that are a little bit thin, and a little bit of kind of pre-planning involved there to get that to work out. But you can see the point of what I'm trying to say here is that when you test fit this model yourself, you'll see what I'm talking about as far as how you're going to need to route that. Not overly difficult. You just connect it to your wiring that you would do inside here for your lights. I'm going to be using Model Man Tom's double density LED tape again on this one. I really like the product, and it makes running a kind of a bead of lights around an area much simpler than doing it with individual LEDs. Now I'll probably use some individual ones in certain spots back here at the crystal, back here at some of this effect lighting that goes on this, and some up in the top probably. But for my lighting all the way around the edge of the saucer, I'll be doing that with that LED tape. And I haven't decided yet what type of lighting I want to do on the maybe a Raytheon, where you do the the kind of lighting from inside and give that outside lighted look. We're going to see what we're going to do with this kit, but it'll be a fun one, and we'll be getting to that one probably a month or two down the road here. But we've also got the Atomic City Models Klingon Battlecruiser coming up next, and I'm just finishing up work on the Enterprise B. I'll be getting back to that kit here in just a little bit. I'm just waiting for some decal kits that I ordered to arrive for that, so we'll have that one cooking here pretty soon for you. Appreciate all the followers. Until we see you next time, happy modeling, everybody.